Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kari, and today I'm going to be talking about the 2023 bookish reading goals that I set for myself this year. And I'll be going through each one individually and seeing if I achieved each one of these goals this year. If you're interested in seeing that original video, I'll link it down in the description box so that you can see kind of my rationale behind each of the goals. And I will be doing a 2024 bookish reading goal video in just a few days, so keep an eye out for that. So my first reading goal for 2023 was to read these 23 books. I did a whole video dedicated to 23 books I want to read in 2023, which I'll also link down in the description box if you're interested in seeing that. But as you can see, there's a good mix of different genres and different types of books that I wanted to be reading this year. And so did I achieve this goal? Did I read these 23 books? No, I did not read all 23 of these books. In fact, I only read 2 of them. So that's really disappointing. So out of these 23 books, I read Vladimir by Julia May Jonas and We Are the Weather by Jonathan Safran Foer. So I think we can very safely say that I did not achieve this reading goal. And I wasn't even like close. I only read 2 out of the 23. However, I will say that, as a lot of you know, Vladimir by Julia May Jonas, that was super successful for me. I loved that book. It's one of my favorite books that I read this year. So in a way, even though I didn't achieve that goal of reading these 23 books in 2023, I did find an amazing book that I absolutely loved. So all hope wasn't lost with this one. My next goal for 2023 was to read 60 books. Now I will point out that 2023 is not over yet. It's December 10th today. So I do have a good amount of days left to keep reading, because as of right now, I haven't reached 60 books. I've only read 56 books. So I only have to read a couple more books to achieve the goal, and I feel pretty confident that I'm going to achieve that, because not only do I have a lot of days left in December, I also have a few books going at once right now that I'm going to kind of finish all at one time, and that's going to really up the numbers very quickly. So I feel very confident in saying I am going to achieve this goal of reading 60 books, and I even think I'm going to read more than 60 books. So this particular goal was a success. My next goal is a goal that I have every single year, and that's to read at least 30 minutes every day. Now when I say every day, I just mean like the majority of days. Like, I don't really expect myself to read 30 minutes 365 days of the year. I just want to read 30 minutes for most of the days, a lot of the days. Like, that's my goal, is to read 30 minutes. But if I don't, it's not like a super big deal, but it is still a goal. Now, if we look at this particular spread that I have in my reading journal, I keep track of every single day that I achieve this goal. Every day that I read at least 30 minutes, I mark off in this spread in my reading journal, which I will be doing a dedicated reading journal video very soon. So keep an eye out for that. And I'll be going through every single spread that I have in my reading journal. But today we're just going to be looking at this particular 30 minutes a day reading spread. And as you can see, especially the first 5 months of the year, I did pretty well of reading at least 30 minutes a day. But then towards the end of June, that's when things really fell off for me in the summer. I have a really hard time reading in the summer. I don't know what it is. Like, I just don't feel motivated to read when it's really hot out. I don't know. So you can really see that I fell off the wagon here at the end of June, and really in July. Like, July was horrible. But then towards the end of August, things really picked up again for me. And September was okay. I mean, the end of September wasn't so great, but it was, overall the month was fine. October was fine. As you can see, November was not a good reading month for me. I mean, it was actually pretty horrible. I only read for 30 minutes 7 days that month. Now, that doesn't mean that I didn't read more than those days. It's just that I didn't read at least 30 minutes. So I should point that out, that I did read more days than this. I just didn't read for at least 30 minutes, which that's the goal. And then as you can see, for this month in December, I've only read 30 minutes one day. I mean, that kind of makes sense. This month has already been so crazy, so I'm really not surprised, but I think it's going to pick up really soon, because like I said before, I have a few books that I really want to finish so that I can add them to my 2023 reading. So I think the rest of December is going to be okay. But if we look at the statistics, if we count these numbers up, there have been 342 days so far this year, if we're considering that today is December 10th, and I have read for 30 minutes for 196 of them, which that means that I've read for 30 minutes for 57% of this year. Now, obviously, I want it to be 100%, but like I said before, I'm not expecting perfection for this. I don't really expect to read every single day for 30 minutes, but 57%, I honestly am happy with that, because like I said, I know that I don't read a lot over the summer, and there's certain periods where I'm just busier and I don't have the time to read for 30 minutes. You know, maybe I'll read for 15 minutes and that's all that I can fit in for that day, and then that doesn't count towards my goal goal. So even though this is only 57%, I know that I've read more than that because some days I read 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. So it's not like I didn't read very much this year, you know what I mean? So overall, I do think that this was a success. My next goal was to keep up with my reading journal. So this was actually my 4th year of keeping a reading journal, and I just love keeping a reading journal. I think it's so fun to keep track of all these statistics and everything. Like, I'm a huge statistic person when it comes to my reading, and I think it's really, really fun. And for this particular goal, like I said, I'm going to do a dedicated video where I do a full flip through of my 2023 reading journal, so keep an eye out for that. But overall, I'll just say that I did keep up with it when it comes to like the statistics and everything like that, and keeping track of every single book that I read, how many pages did I read, how many hours did I read, which days did I read for 30 minutes, how many books from each genre did I read, all these different kinds of stats I kept up with 100%. I also kept track of things like which books did I buy this year and did I read them, so I am really happy with those things that I kept track of and I kept up to date on it. My only problem is, and you'll see this in the flip through video, that I would really like to do a dedicated spread for every single book that I read, and I made the space for it in my journal, but I don't keep up on that. I read so many books that it's just too time consuming to keep a spread for every single book, so I'm going to keep that in mind when I do my 2024 reading journal spread setup, that I'm going to reconsider this idea of having a spread for every single book that I read. But I did really keep up with literally everything else in the journal, so I am going to consider this one a success that I did keep up with my 2023 reading journal. My next goal was that I wanted to read the entire shortlist for the Women's Prize for Fiction this year. If you have kept up with my channel this year, you'll know that I did read the Women's Prize for Fiction shortlist, although I didn't finish the last book, Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. I haven't quite finished that one yet, but I am considering that I did achieve this goal even though I didn't quite finish that book yet. Just because when I compare how well I did to previous years of trying to read the shortlist, this is the best that I've ever done, so I'm just proud of myself in that way. So I am considering it a success even though I didn't quite finish the last book. I'll link that video down in the description box where I talk about the Women's Prize for Fiction shortlist, and I actually just did a video the other day where I talked about prize books in general, and I'll link that one down in the description box as well if you're interested in hearing my thoughts about prize books in general. My next goal was that I wanted to focus on quality over quantity when it comes to my books. For this one, I think I kind of achieved that. I did mostly pick up books that I wanted to read no matter how long they were. However, I can think of one moment, and this was like a month ago, that I was really feeling like it's time to read A Dance with Dragons by George R.R. Martin, the 5th book in the A Song of Ice and Fire series. I was just like ready. It was time. I really wanted to read it. But I was a little bit behind in my reading challenge. I was a few books behind actually, and I was like, you know, this book is really long and I could read a good few other shorter books because A Dance with Dragons is what, like, I don't know, 600 pages or something. I could be reading 200-300 pages books instead, you know what I mean? And in the end, I didn't pick up A Dance with Dragons because of that. So that's the only time I can think of that I was focusing on quantity over quality. But I think the rest of the year it went pretty well, that I was focusing on quality over quantity. So I will say that this goal was a success. My next goal is that I wanted to inventory my library, like use one of those little scanner things and scan all of my books and have like a database of my entire library. I will say that I bought the little scanner and I started inputting books into the database. I think I probably did like 75 to 100 books maybe, but as you can see, I have hundreds of books, so I didn't even make the tiniest dent. So I definitely didn't achieve this goal, but I did the first step. Like, I got the scanner and I signed myself up for the database, so it wasn't a success, but I started it. My second to last goal was that I wanted to read a new to me Bronte sister book, because as I said in my goal video, I've already read Wuthering Heights by Emily and Jane Eyre by Charlotte, so there's a couple books left that I still need to read by the Bronte sisters, and I wanted to read one of those this year, but I did not. I didn't read a Bronte sister book this year, so I did not achieve this goal. And my last goal that I had for myself for this year is to read more classics than I read in 2022. So in that video, I said that I had read 8 classics in 2022, and this year so far, I've read 5 classics. And I don't have any plans to read any other ones through the end of the year, so I can safely say that I did not achieve this goal. The 5 classics that I did read this year were The Telltale Heart by Poe, The Masque of the Red Death, also by Poe, The Fall of the House of Usher, by Poe. Can you tell that I did a lot of rereading because of the Fall of the House of Usher TV show that came out on Netflix? That was amazing, by the way. If you're a Poe fan, you need to watch that if you haven't. So that inspired me to reread some Poe. Then my fourth classic that I read was my favorite short story of all time, The Yellow Wallpaper by Perkins Gilman. I reread it every single year, so that was my fourth classic. And actually my fifth one is one that I'm rereading right now. Even though I'm not finished with it, I only have like 20 pages left or something. I know that I will finish it this year, so I am counting it for these 5. But that's We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. This is another book that I reread every single year. So those are the 5 classics that I did read this year, but it's honestly not even close to the 8 that I read in 2022. So I can safely say that I did not achieve this goal. So overall, even though I did not achieve all of my goals, I honestly feel pretty positive about my reading this year. Having these goals put me in the right direction, and even if I didn't achieve all of them, like I still accomplished some of it, which is rewarding in its own way. So I don't feel bad about not achieving all of these at all. I feel pretty positive about everything that I did achieve this year. Like I said, I will be doing a 2024 bookish reading goal video very, very soon, so keep an eye out for that if you're interested in that. If you need some inspiration for your own reading goals, for example, I'm really looking forward to talking with you about my 2024 reading goals. So with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would really, really appreciate it, and subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to have you back, and I'll talk to you again next time. Bye!